Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. Today we'll be speaking to the filmmaker and activist that exposed the deaths of hundreds of children who died from lead poisoning in Bagega Zamfara state. They went into this community and found that not only were children dying of lead poisoning, but it was a silent norm in the society. Their investigation led to a 873 million naira grant by the federal government in rehabilitating this community. I'll take you through the journey of how this activist stood up, packed his bags, and went into this community to find out facts that saved the lives of more children. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
The United Nations-backed Forum on the Crisis in the Lake Chad Basin region was held early in the week in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital. The conference is the first forum of governors from the Lake Chad region of Nigeria, Cameroon, Chad and Niger Republic to discuss stability in the region troubled by nearly 9 years of Boko Haram insurgency. Lead moderator of the conference, Ambassador Mama Nuhu, Executive Secretary of the Lake Chad Commission, said that it would focus on pathways to stability and reintegration. Host Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State urged the member states not to forget that the crisis has caused trans-border displacement and instability of the communities in Lake Chad region. Governor of Adamawa State, Senator Jibrila Bindo, his counterpart from northern states of Cameroon, Chad and Niger Republic, attended the conference. Governor Rauf Aragbeshola of Osun State says his administration has spent more than 30 billion naira on direct social investment programs in the state. The media aide to the governor, Shola Fashire, in the statement on Tuesday in Oshogbo, quoted Governor Aragbeshola as saying this at the palace of the Elegboro of Ijebu-Jesha in Osun, Oba Moses Agunshoye. Aragbeshola's visit to the monarch was in continuation of the All Progressives Congress sensitization tour of the state. He said the social investment was done through initiatives such as Osun Youth Empowerment Scheme, Osun School Feeding and Health Program, Osun Rural Enterprise and Agricultural Program, and Osun Ambulance Services. According to Aragbeshola, his government has performed creditably well in delivery on its electioneering campaign promises to the people of the state. The governor said that his administration, after the expiration of its tenure, would leave behind legacy project. And finally, on the news bits, the International Monetary Fund has warned that sub-Saharan African nations are at growing risk of debt distress because of heavy borrowing and gaping deficit in spite of an overall uptick in economic growth. The sub-assessment comes as African countries continue to tap international debt markets and issue record levels of debt in foreign currencies, spurred on by insatiable investor demand for yields. In its economic outlook for the region released in Accra, Ghana, the fund projected the rate of economic expansion would rise to 3.4% this year, up from 2.8% in 2017, boosted by global growth and higher commodity prices. Slower growth in South Africa and Nigeria, the continent's two largest economies, weighed on the region-wide average, but IMF expect growth to pick up in around two-thirds of African nations. However, under current policies, that rate is expected to plateau below 4% over the medium term.
Hello everyone and welcome back to today's episode of the Osasu Show. With me right now is Hamza Lawal, the co-founder of Follow the Money, and Emmanuel Etim, the founder of Refined Creative and a filmmaker. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure being here again, Osasu.
Welcome back, your usual. So tell me, this documentary is very important, and I believe it's a fantastic partnership with you as an activist and you as a filmmaker. In 2012, Follow the Money went into the rural community in Zamfara state and found that over 400 children had died from lead poisoning. So tell me what preempted your action to look into this story and find solution to it.
So in 2012, I was struggling to get information on what has happened in 2010, which was reported that over 400 children had died due to artisanal unregulated mining. And for me, I checked online, I tried to approach various MDAs, and no one could actually tell me concretely what has happened. Because in 2010, a lot of money went to the state and these communities, but no one could tell what was the impact and result of these public funds. So I just got on a bus, I traveled to Zamfara. I didn't know anyone in Zamfara. I didn't even know where I was going to, but I knew that I wanted to access communities that were affected and get first-hand experience and information from them. I got to Bagega and I was shocked to find out that first, media reports at that time said 400 children had died. But then we went to the mass burial ground, it was over 700 children that actually died. We found out that 1,500 children below 5 years were very sick and at the verge of losing their life if they don't get urgent medical intervention. But then the government was reluctant to release funds because the excuse was in 2010 they released billions of naira, but then nothing happened there because a lot of corrupt politicians and government officials stole this money. So what we did was to ensure that we document this voice using mobile phone in an amateur way, like you professionals will call it. But we took pictures, we took videos of the issues happening, interviewing these people that were affected, grandmothers who have lost 5, 6 children because of government inactiveness. And we brought it to the limelight using the hashtag #SaveBagega, sending tweets to people who don't even know where Bagega is, who are not even from northern Nigeria like myself. And they all felt a sense of purpose and responsibility to amplify #SaveBagega. And in less than 48 hours, the government signed up and released the sum of $5.3 million, which is over 800 million naira.
Wow. So you came in as a filmmaker when you heard that story from Hamza. So tell me, you and Hamzi, how you met each other and how you decided to embark on this project?
Well, my team was commissioned to really focus on mining communities. And what we're trying to figure out in West Africa was, what is the truth? What's going on in maybe Guinea or Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever. And when we discovered Hamza's story, we were kind of amazed that he's actually doing something and delivering. A lot of groups would get money and they try and figure things out, but it'd really get convoluted and just messed up. So back and forth conversations, one of my producers named Nosa was talking to him, and because of social media, Hamzi was able just to, I guess, amplify what was going on. So it was very transparent that we could see that there were children out there that had their voice, and the messaging was pretty tight. The messaging was really good at that point. This was about 4 years ago. So when we reached out to him, he responded right away. He had a smaller team than he does now, and we're able just to go and visit him and just get a feel of what it was like. We came out here twice, right?
Yes.
So the first time we went out to the communities, right?
Yes.
So and I've seen him more because we have a deeper relationship, so I've come back and forth. But when we went out to the communities the first time, I don't think he had really spent the night in Bagega. And we went out the first day with some security.
Because there was bandit issue. That was when you had farmer headers crisis.
I see.
So we were warned by the security operative not to go, but we told them that even with crisis, we work in crisis-prone communities, so we have to go because people are there.
And what year was this?
This was 2014.
2014, okay. Okay. Was this so, due to this working relationship, the government subsequently released a grant of 873 million naira? Or was this before you had...
This is after. Okay. So he did the documentary after the success story.
Wow. This is a follow-up story.
Okay.
And in contrast, as a filmmaker, you have to like display stories that's not all like, yay, we won. But in Ivory Coast, it was post-Civil War and people didn't really understand what was going on. So we were doing more of an exploratory type of documentary in Ivory Coast. We pieced that together with what's going on with Ghana right when they discovered oil and how people were being treated, especially in communities that they didn't get any information. And so in contrast with what Follow the Money was doing, it was a success story when you're very transparent and it was somebody that's not from the community actually seeing a problem. So the whole narrative was really to try and inspire people to say, there are possibilities, but you really have to be proactive and talk about things.
As a filmmaker, sometimes we sort of challenge ourselves because we don't necessarily see immediate impact for the work that we do. I'm sure you would agree with me regarding that. But with a situation like this, with this issue, especially in Zamfara, we've been seeing that due to the partnership with an activist such as Hamza, we've seen immediate government response to pressing issues such as 1,000+ children dying from an issue like lead poisoning. So with the screening of this documentary, what do the both of you hope to achieve from sending out this information to both the international and local community? What are the outcomes, the projected outcomes of this documentary?
I think from my own personal professional relationship with them, this documentary has been filmed and I showed it to a lot of different people. Some of my contacts with the US State Department in Yali picked up on him, and he's been able to travel around and talk to other leaders all over the continent and all over the world. From that, you've had what's Follow the Money Gambia
and Kenya.
And Follow the Money Kenya.
So you're hoping that this documentary would change the perception of young people in terms of holding government to account and being more proactive in their actions when they hear stories like this, knowing that you and I, as regular Nigerians or people across the world, can actually hold government to account and make a difference, you know, when we hear issues like this going on across, you know, our country or our continent.
For us, I tell people that this documentary shows you that a lot of people don't have 4 years. Because today in Nigeria, when they complain about issue, they say in the next 4 years we'll vote you out of election. But then realistically, a lot of families don't have 4 years. Children would die in 2 weeks if government don't take action, or in less than a year. So this documentary showcased that if you're able to authentically get content, even if it's content that they call amateur, but then people can relate to pictures. Pictures don't lie. Videos don't lie. You can create that, and you can mobilize citizens using mobile technology and innovation and social media. So engaging government. So for us, it's about not just talking, but walking the talk and showing solutions and bridging that gap between government at the national level and citizens in rural communities, showing them that they actually have the power.
Very lastly, Emmanuel, in Nigeria, mining of solid minerals or mining of minerals in general only constitutes about 0.3% of our GDP. Would you also attribute this to the illegal mining going on specifically in these rural communities? And what do you think is the solution, perhaps, to this issue?
I think whatever is reported about artisanal or industrial mining, whether it's Nigeria, Ghana, or anywhere in West Africa, we don't even have the right data. If we focus on just oil and natural gas or other things, that's because you could see a larger quantity right there when you get the data. So I don't know if you agree or disagree, but artisanal mining, I don't have the numbers, and particularly now this year, but in 2014, we knew by what we saw that there was underreporting going on, a lot of illegal activity. And it's really this thing that's very informal all across Africa, where they're just trying to make money, they're just trying to do it, and there might not be checks and balances in place.
Well, that's a fine place to leave it, gentlemen. So we're going to show you right now the documentary, or an excerpt from the documentary Mining Perspective, filmed by Emmanuel and also featuring Hamza Lawal. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back on the Osasu Show.
The whole idea of development is for people to realize their dreams and aspirations. This include people who do not have voices, community people who are illiterate, community people who are women, who are children, who are marginalized. All these people count when you think of development of a nation.
Africa flourishes with natural resources, and these resources have brought in hope and aspiration for people all around. But what does it mean to be directly affected by the mineral activities? Here are 3 stories, unfiltered, of people affected by mining activities. Their lives, struggles, and coping mechanisms are different, but here are their voices. Sometimes you need to know the truth before you expose the lies.
Parce qu'on disait que c'est le diamant qui servait à alimenter la guerre. Je n'ai pas compris. Parce que nous avons été des victimes.
Sometimes you need to understand the pain before you find the cure.
Ghana gas line about dame. Asasi swa, no mehina, more Judy Aguno, a bear day, the menya assassin for because I assassin, or Martama Nihinasa.
And sometimes what you need is perspective before you can rise up to make change. Can one person go up against the government and big business and show that there is indeed a path to bettering our communities? In Nigeria, the answer is yes. But first, one needs perspective.
I read on the newspaper, and it was all over television, that due to the effect of unsafe mining, 400 children died in Zamfara state. Then in 2012, I did a bit of research on what has happened for the past 2 years. And I found out that a community called Bagega is yet to get government intervention. The source of livelihood in this community was agriculture. But due to the effect of climate change, most of them have left agriculture to alternative, which is mining. When we first visited households on the mining site, usually the miners bring the extract to the household and have their wives and some of their children join in processing. So what they do is use the mortar and pestle to crush it and wash the crushed soil in their households. With the intervention of Follow the Money, Global Rights, the Zamfara Emirate Council, Doctors Without Borders, we have been able to transform how people perceive gold mining and how better to mine this gold so that they, first of all, don't contaminate the environment and have their children fall sick and die.
That will be a goal kick.
Global Rights made an assessment visit to Zamfara. We found that there were medical interventions, but there was no one looking at Zamfara from a human rights perspective. The host communities had no idea what their rights were. There's a lot of confusion about the responsibility of government with the state level or the federal level.
What we need from the community is the cooperation, and that they should be able to imbibe whatever knowledge government is trying to impart into them for their own safety and for them to sustain their livelihood.
Muna roƙon gwamnati ta zo ta share mu wannan ƙasar saboda kama daga gubar dalma ta zo ta samu wata sabon ƙasa.
Whether large-scale mining or artisanal mining, government has a responsibility to regulate the mining sector because mining is not an environmentally sustainable activity, and also because mineral resources are not renewable. And when you think about the devastating effect mining has on people, you must regulate the sector. And where government has failed to regulate the sector, it fails to protect the people and has violated their rights.
The challenge we have as government in trying to impart all of this knowledge to the local communities in the gold mining areas of the country is purely nothing else than language challenge. Because all of this group of persons speak one language, Hausa. So if you must impart your knowledge into them, then you have to get either a colleague of mine who is an Hausa-speaking fellow to do the interpretation, or I engage an interpreter to do that.
Up to 25% of Nigerians speak Hausa. Girls and boys learn English in Bagega.
I'm tired sitting down in my comfort zone complaining about how my government is not taking responsibility. And I felt that I needed to take a bold step. I needed to reach out to my peers, to my immediate community, to other activists out there, not just to sit down and post on Facebook or on Twitter about how government is not being responsive, but actually connecting to communities that don't even know what Twitter or Facebook is, empowering them with information so they can even approach their own local government and take responsibilities for their actions.
We are in compound 209. Zone C.
Tapping into the gold mining sector would put Nigeria on a pathway to diversifying its dependable economy on oil and gas. And this would help reduce poverty rate and of course empower artisanal miners. So this will help local and state government to be financially independent from the federal government, which is central. And this would help them generate internal funds that would help develop their society. Visiting the proposed safer mining site, I saw that the machines have been installed, but not properly installed. I found out that the borehole that was supposed to be installed was not installed. It got me really angry, knowing that millions of naira has been put into that project, which made us visit the contractor yesterday to ask how have you spent the money allocated to you for this community.
Gaskiya ta yi kyau sosai, abin ai ba magana, tana nan tana jin daɗin ta labai, kai karan kanka na san za ka yi farin ciki ganin yadda take jin daɗi. Gaskiya kai ka kasance mahaifi ne sa a yan labai wallahi.
Now become part of this community. Over time, working with affected communities, I have learned that respecting their space and having them own ownership of what we're doing goes a long way, most especially when they have an opinion on a specific issues. It's their society, it's not ours. We're just there to give a hand and also to take a hand, because once these two hands join together, then we can work to build a better community. Our first time in 2012 was devastating for us, but 2.5 years afterwards, leveraging on the social media platform, engaging policymakers and our government, and most importantly, our mass number of young people, we've been able to provide access road to the community of Bagega. We've been able to get our government to renovate their schools and provide them with computers so they can be in tune with what's happening in the society. We've been able to tell and teach the people how to hold government accountable and how to know who a good leader is. Because over time, it's important that the people should move out in masses and elect representatives that would actually represent their interests in every aspect of governance. Working together with them, we have now built the kind of community we want to see for ourselves and the children that are yet unborn here in Bagega.
To watch extended clips from this documentary, you can visit www.followthemoney.org. Don't forget, you can also follow them on social media. All their details are on the screen. To read more news about sustainable development and current affairs across Africa, you can visit our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. Follow us on social media at The Osasu Show, at TOSTV Network, at Osasu Igminadian on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll see you same time, same place next week, and until then, remember, you are the change you want to see in the world. Take very good care of yourself. God bless you.